had another plan for my life. I wanted to make money. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to go into politics. I saw myself in D.C. before I saw myself in a church somewhere. And so that was my plan. And I was pursuing that even while we were in college. I started making a lot of money. I thought of myself as very successful, even as a 20-year-old. And I was pretty proud of what I was doing.
Yeah.
At the same time, my dad was battling a throat cancer that was supposed to take his life. And I remember driving a brand new car from Dallas to Houston where he was at MD Anderson and just having that conversation with him, thinking, you're going to be super proud of me. And I'm telling you about this new car and all my successes and all the money I'm making and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me that day and he said, you know what? That's great. But God has a way bigger plan for your life than just this. Mm. And on the way home, it was just like a God moment in the car on the way back to school. And God got a hold of my heart that day and basically told me, you know, it doesn't matter if you achieve all the things of this world. Yeah. If you miss my call, you missed it. That's right. And so we all get one shot at this. And that doesn't mean everybody's supposed to be a preacher, but it does mean if Jesus is Lord, you should be fully surrendered. You should submit to his idea for your life and trust the path.
Okay, this is like a major trajectory change. What did your wife think about this?
No, that's what I was going to say. So on the drive home, was that your surrender moment, like on the drive home?
Yeah, and you know, not as far as Jesus being my Lord, but really surrendering the trajectory of my life and the path.
And saying maybe.
Yeah.
And just saying, Lord, you know, I knew that you had something different for me. When I was 17, and I never told anyone this, when I was 17, I was at a youth camp, and I don't remember who the speaker was, but I do remember him having that as a part of his altar call. Like some of you, God's called to full-time ministry, and I'm like, I know that God's calling me to do it, but I ain't doing it, right? It was like one of those, like, we're not going to tell anyone about this moment, right? This is just between me and you. And I ran away for that for a few years.
Yeah.
And it was weird because even in having that conversation with Audra, when I got home, she wasn't shocked. In fact, she came back and she said, you know, when I was a teenager, I felt like God was calling me to ministry. Wow. So even before I felt called, she felt called. And together we've been doing this now for about 24 years.
That was probably so confirming for you. Yeah. Like confirmation from the Lord that she felt that way as well.
Oh, let me just tell you, this was not the easiest. And yeah, you talk about a supportive wife and having that conversation saying, we're going to open it up and whatever God does, wherever he leads us. And that's easy to say until God moves you 1,000 miles away from home, where you know very few people. And you also have to take about a $70,000 pay cut, and you're now living a different lifestyle, and you're having to, it's just a completely different ball game. And yet God started us off at a church where I was the youth pastor of a church that ran about 60 on Sunday morning. And in fact, in the conversation leading up to it, they're like, hey, you know, we can pay you this much. I'm like, dude, that's below the poverty line. That's illegal. I was like, can we at least get to this place? And they said, you know what? There's one way we can do it. We're also looking for a minister of music. And if you can lead the choir on, and I was like, I don't know how to read music, but I'm in. And I waved my arm for 2 years. Listen, we did a Christmas cantata. I didn't even know how to spell cantata. We had a blast. I was like, I'm doing both jobs. Let's go for it. And that was the
I can
start.
just see you up there just doing this right here.
Oh, it was horrible.
Did you ever have like a moment of like, I don't know about this, like a moment of doubt?
Did I ever have a moment where I didn't think, I don't know? Yes, 100% of the time. You know, you're like, you are literally trusting the Lord. You're leading music and you don't read music, all right? And so, yes, every moment you're like, listen, Lord, if you're in this, I'm in this. And so it's a trust the Lord moment.
Tell us about what happened. How long a period was that, and what happened with the youth group and even the choir?
That was a cool story. So I don't know much about the choir. I don't want to talk about that. But on the youth side, that kind of launched me into youth ministry, and I was only at this church for 17 months. We started with 2 kids on the first Wednesday night. One of them got saved on the first Wednesday, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know you just gave your life to the Lord, and you have a high school that needs the Lord, and so go back and tell everybody what you did with Jesus, bring them back next Wednesday. So we did that for 17 months straight, and we saw 144 kids give their life to the Lord, be baptized.
That is
at a church that had, I mean, you're like, you have to have a big budget in youth ministry. Well, we didn't. You know, I had $1,000 for the year. We spent it all on a Subway sandwich feast on the first, you know, big thing. I'm like, we don't have any money for the rest of the year. But we do have people that are coming to faith in Christ, and we believe in the Great Commission. We think it starts in our Jerusalem.